So today, we're going to talk about the power of clarity. We're going to talk about it because it's something that I am currently working on. I'm currently working on the idea, and things are coming to me and they're challenging me all the time. Am I really clear about who I am? Am I really clear about who I'm being in the universe? Am I really clear about what I'm receiving for others? Or do I have clouded vision? And I notice that I'm being challenged by my sons, by my wife, by being a minister, by things I'm watching in politics. Am I really being clear to who I am? And so what I know is I ask myself this question: am I living the life of my dreams? So I would ask you to ask that question. Are you living the life of your dreams? It's a great question. The first thing you've got to know is, what's your dream? Are you clear about your dream? Or is your dream nebulous? Is it fuzzy? Is it undefined? You see, ask this question. If you think you're living the life of your dreams, this is a subsequent question to ask. Does your life excite you? Do you wake up in the morning excited about what's going to come to you, what you've got planned on your calendar? Because if you do, then you've got a dream and you're going to be living that dream. You're moving in the direction of dream. You've got clarity. But if you're not excited, then clarity is something we're seeking. I find that as a minister and as a licensed practitioner, that probably the greatest prayer I do for anyone I'm in treatment with is I treat that they receive the clarity, the guidance, the wisdom that allows them to express themselves in their perfect way. Because that's all we need. If we have clarity, everything else falls into place. But most of the time, we don't. We don't realize that clarity is not in the minister. It's not in the politician. It's not in your boss. That clarity is within you. It's always been there. But you have to listen, be still, and know. Ernest Holmes said this: I cleanse the windows of my mind that it may become a mirror reflecting inspiration from the Most High. In other words, Ernest Holmes said through meditation, slowing the mind down, bringing the mind into a focus on nothingness, he clears the mind so that the conscious thoughts that he puts into his mind, that the universal law that exists, now takes those thoughts and it mirrors back to him in his life experience. And when he talks about the Most High, he's talking about the divine wisdom within each of us. He's not talking about a power outside of ourselves. He's talking about that guidance that's unique, that's within us. So let me repeat what Ernest said. He says, I cleanse the windows of my mind, the thoughts in my mind, that it may become a mirror reflecting inspiration from the Most High. Inspiration, what is that? Your dream. The dream that comes from the highest aspect of you. And you see, that's when we live a life that is meaningful. That's when we can't wait to get it up, because it's a dream that's reflecting our true magnificence and what we desire to experience. So when I look at the idea of clarity, I basically have come to the understanding that in this human form, there are two levels of clarity. There's a spiritual level of clarity and a human level of clarity. To experience the spiritual clarity requires us to step back from our human experience and perspectives. In other words, it requires us to be the observer. The simplest way to say this is to go into meditation, to be still, to release all thoughts. And you see, when we do that and we become still and we release all thoughts, we become open to new ideas. We become open to new ways of being. And we become open to being able to hear the divine wisdom, the divine inspiration that's right there with us. It's always with us. It's forever with us. And so meditation and asking questions in the quiet quiet of meditation are the way that we experience spiritual clarity. We understand that we are one with the all, that we are an individualization of divine love, infinite wisdom, and that the power we are seeking is right where we are. When we have that clarity, we become unstoppable. Now, on the other hand, to experience human clarity, that requires us to ask questions. You see, if we're going in our lives and we're having experiences and we're befuddled, we're confused, and we're seeking more, the only way we as humans can get that clarity is we've got to ask questions. But so many times right now, we think we know the answer. We think that the wisdom is right there. We've got the answer. We've had that experience. And folks, that's where we let ourselves down. We don't have the answer. But if we ask the right questions, we'll have that answer, especially when it comes to relationships. If you're asking questions of how can I have a better relationship, here's a great question. When something comes up, ask the question, would I rather be right or would I be happy? Can ask the question, I wonder if the perspective of the other person is different from the perspective that I'm coming from. I wonder why they might be having that insight. I wonder what their experience was before. And you see, when you start asking those quality questions, you start getting great answers. And all of a sudden, you get the clarity. But you see, if you keep going back to the way you did things in the past, you're not getting clarity. You're actually becoming a habit of responding. And you've literally locked yourself into the experience that you've had in the past. To experience human clarity requires us to paint a picture of what we want our desired experience to be. We paint that picture with what we desire to experience with our thoughts, words, actions, and feelings. You see, clarity, when we're using the creative power, the law that creates all things, we have to create a clear picture. The clearer the picture, the law responds with mirror activity. But if we don't give it a clear picture, we're going to get a nebulous result. We're not going to get the result we are seeking. So it's really inherent upon ourselves that we use and create that picture, not just with our words, not just with our thoughts, not just with our feelings, not just with our actions, but all of those combined. And we hold those thoughts, words, actions, and feelings persistently, consistently on that image. In other words, what we're doing is through clarity, we're creating a slide. That slide put in front of a projector. The projector is the light. It shoots through the slide, and whatever's on the slide, it projects onto the wall. But if we haven't put the image of what we want on the slide, it's not going to reflect on the wall the way we want. That's the same thing that happens with our life experience. You see, life is a mirror, and it reflects back to us exactly what we put into it. Let me reflect on that. Let me rephrase that. Not even phrase it. Let me just say it again. Life is a mirror, and it reflects back to us exactly what we think, what we put into it. So if you want to know what you're thinking, what you're putting into the universal law, what your mental atmosphere is, look at your life. It's a mirror. And you may not like that, but I'm going to tell you, you may not like it, but it's there. It's reflecting back. And the beauty of that is when you know what it's reflecting back and it's not what you want, now you can change what you put in the mirror. It's a feedback mechanism. So that's a blessing. What a gift that is. You see, without clarity, we open ourselves to a life that is not the one we would consciously choose. See, if we're not clear about what we want in a relationship, we're going to get what the other person wants. We're going to get an average experience of what society wants. If we're not clear about the type of financial situation we want to live in, we're going to have a situation that's influenced by the people around us, by what our parents built into our minds. Do you get what I'm saying? Is that without clarity, we will have what I call an average experience. An average experience being average based on the input that you've received from the people, the situations, the circumstances, the news media, the magazines, everything that you've put into your mind up until this point. But when you become clear and you paint your own picture, those influences drop away. You see, conscious living, and that's what we're about at Agape, is conscious living, requires clear thinking. Clear thinking creates the mental image that becomes our life experience. That's why we talk about conscious living so clearly, that it's so great before we do anything is to pause and ask the question, what is it I really want here? What is it I desire to experience? And in that question, clarity comes to you and you're able to answer. Speak the word, act, and feel in alignment with what you dream. You see, the clearer our thinking when we're aligned with the hierarchy of our values builds a life of purpose and a life of fulfillment. And I've talked about the hierarchy of our values many times before. That's based off the work of Dr. John Demartini. That is my single best workshop that I offer people, is the values workshop. And in that values workshop, when we're done with that hour and 15 minutes, when it's done one-on-one, you come away knowing the hierarchy of your values. Now you know what's important to you. Now you know where to put your thoughts. Now you have a clear vision about where you want your life to take you. But most people haven't taken the time to learn the hierarchy. Or if they know the hierarchy, they're not living it. And the reason they don't live it is because they don't have clarity on why it's important to live it. Do you see how clarity keeps coming in? Clarity about knowing the hierarchy of your values, then clarity about knowing why are those values important to you. And when you know why they're important, then you're willing to take action. You see, when we're not clear, we leave ourselves open to an incomplete and incongruent life because we haven't defined it. Clarity is always about us defining what we want out of this life. And in that way, we own our lives. We're not the victims of our lives. It's also key to effective communication and building loving and supportive relationships. Whether it's with your life partner, your children, your parents, your friends, your business partners, your neighbors, whoever you're coming to. The most best gift you can give your children when they're young is teach them how to speak with clarity. To teach them how to complete a sentence with enough information that it gives the person they're talking to a clear view of where they're coming from instead of a nebulous, half-centered view. Because if you're not clear, the other person's going to respond in a not clear way. So why not take the time to give clear communication, clear feedback, clear information? So now the other person can make a clear response to you instead of an unclear response. What do they say in relationships? Communication is probably the number one reason that most relationships fail. It's the number one reason for most heartache in just about any situation. Clear communication is everything. And that responsibility solely rests on us and nobody else. So why not get a master's in how to communicate? That would be where I would spend my time. You see, being clear requires great understanding and awareness of our unique nature and what we consciously choose to experience in life. I don't think we've been taught to ask those questions. What is our unique nature? And what do we consciously choose to experience in life? You see, we're back to the idea of questions. Questions are the key to clarity. There is no doubt in my mind about it. And the more we question, the clearer we become. You see, just because you got clarity, it does not mean that the person you are with will agree or go along with you. The other person may have other intentions. So just because you're clear in the way you express yourself to the other person, doesn't mean that they're going to go along with you. But you've been clear. And from that clarity and the response, you can discern what type of relationship should this be. That's a great way to look at it. That's a great question. What type of relation should we have? Should it be a life partnership? Should it be a casual friendship? Should it be maybe we don't even talk at all? Should it be where we have very minimal contact in the work environment? I don't know. That's up to you to discern. Because you have to express yourself, they have to express yourself, and now you have the framework of how you can be together. But without that, how do you choose? A lot of times people spend years, lifetimes with people that they don't even want to be with. Whew. I watched that with my mom and dad. They weren't clear with themselves, therefore they weren't clear with each other, and therefore they settled for a life that wasn't all that great. The clearer we are, we set a law in motion that creates what we envision and minimizes the possibility of having unwanted experiences. You see, it's our word that creates. When we speak a clear word, the universal law hears that word and creates and mirrors back to us what we've spoken. So here's the tool I want you to use this week. 2 tools. Before you respond to any situation, before you go into a situation, pause first and then ask the question, what would be in my highest interest to speak in this situation? Pause, then question, what would be in my highest interest to speak in this situation? And test this and see how your week unfolds. I want to thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask that you go to our website, agapecsl.com. Once there, click on the donate button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. Or if you would like, text your gift by simply dialing 972-532-6976. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to you in the world. I would ask that if you like this message, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel under my name, Lee Wolak. Again, I want to thank you for joining me in the Agape community as we learn how to better self-love through conscious living.